Hello, my name is Chris Johnson, and I'm your instructor for ETCV 530, Introduction to Multimedia. This short video will introduce you to the purpose of the course and also general layout, since I am going to be using Google Sites instead of Moodle. And so things will be laid out a little bit differently if you've taken a course from me before. So let's take a look at the projects that make up ETCV 530. First, we'll look at the projects that make up Introduction to Multimedia. And I'm going to stop saying that and just refer to this as 530. To find the projects, there's a Projects tab. So you'll just hold the cursor over the Projects tab. If you click on the Projects tab, it will also take you to a page with a list of the projects. So I'm going to do that. Makes it a little bit easier than just looking at that pull-down menu. There are 9 projects that make up this class. 2 of them are what I call general projects, the reflection on the course, which you'll do at the end, and participating in the class, which has 2 components. One you'll do at the beginning, and the other I grade at the end, and that's basically your participation in the discussion forums. So the meat of the course is really in these 7 projects. And the purpose is to introduce you to a number of different digital tools and ways of thinking about using those tools that you can use to enhance student learning. Now, I'll encourage you to go in and read through each of the projects itself to find out exactly what you'll be doing, but we're going to be keeping ourselves current. We're going to be looking at encouraging creativity, organizing our understanding, and expressing information through things like infographics, how to protect your digital tattoo, and creating a toolbox of digital tools that you can use. We'll wrap all of this in a final assignment, Creativity Revisited, where I'll ask you to use everything that you've learned in the course to either revise an instructional activity or perhaps create a new one. So those are the projects that make up the course. Now let's look at the navigation. This is a Google site, as I've mentioned, so it's laid out differently than Moodle. It works with tabs, and as you roll your cursor over the tab, you'll see a little blue line that will appear, and that shows you, okay, I'm ready to click on this. Some of the tabs will have pull downs. So for example, the course info, the projects, all have ways that you can navigate fairly easily within the course. When you first come in, you will always land on the 530 homepage. The very first time you come into the course, please make sure that you do the Start Here section, and make sure that you go through all of the material in this section and then review all of the course information, specifically the syllabus. That will tell you all of my policies and procedures. Another thing that will be a little different in this course is we are using a different discussion tool. It's called Piazza. Now, I'll be sending out a separate video on how to do posting in Piazza because it's different than the discussion forums you may have found in other learning management systems. I'm using it because it has a number of features that I think are much better than the discussion forums, and we can have a discussion of this later in the class. So let's quickly look at the layout of an individual project. I'll look at keeping yourself current. Each of the projects has a little bit of navigation up here at the top. If you need to go, say, to the steps to completion, you can click here and that will take you down in the page, or you can go to any of the other projects. Each project starts with a purpose and the learning objectives, the due dates, and you'll notice that this particular assignment has 2 different dates. One you do an initial posting, and the second you do a reflection. There'll be an introduction and then the steps to completion. Those steps will be followed by instructions on submitting your assignment. You'll either be posting things in Piazza forums or you'll be posting them in a Google Drive. The required elements describe what is required of you in terms of this project. And so this is my expectation for what I call the target level. And finally, there'll be a rubric at the bottom. Please make sure that you read the target level of each of these rubrics, because it's my expectation that everyone in this class will meet this target level. Next to each of the subsections, you'll see a little link that says top, and this will just take you back up to the top of the page. The last thing I'd like to talk about can be found in the syllabus. As I mentioned, make sure that you go through all of the syllabus, review the accessibility statement. There's a little discussion about how I use rubrics and how I assign grades. But I want to point out my extra credit assignment. It's called Turnabout is Fair Play. Since I grade you for spelling and grammar in your writing, I think it's only fair that you can grade me as well. So if you find an error in any of my official class communications, such as anything you find in this site or an official email, now if it's a quick dashed off email in response to you, I'm not responsible for that, and I'm definitely not responsible for anything that comes off of my iPhone or my iPad. But if you find a grammar error, please go ahead and email it to me, and you'll get 0.25 extra credit points. Up to about 5 points is the total that I give. And you have to be the first person to email it to me. I'd also like to just talk briefly about my policies on submitting a project. Now, there is specific directions on how to submit a project in the submitting a project section. But I want to talk about late submission. I will accept late projects up to 3 days beyond the original due date. And each date that a project is due after that, there's a 10% reduction of points. However, I acknowledge that you all are working professionals and things come up. You get a deadline at work, you have a sick child. Therefore, if you let me know ahead of time or within that 3-day grace period that you are going to miss a date, that's fine. You won't be penalized, but please let me know that you're planning to submit it, and then you'll tell me when the new due date will be. Also, because it's my expectation that everyone will reach the target level, you may resubmit a project as much as you want. If your project doesn't meet the target level, you can resubmit projects up to the last day of class. Finally, I wanted to point out the network outage. Since we are using Google Sites and Google Drives, if there's a deadline and you have a network outage or a computer issue, again, as best you can, let me know that that's happened and we will extend the deadline. So the last thing I'd like to talk about is checking your status. Instead of a built-in gradebook, which I don't have in Google Sites, I'm going to be using Google Docs to track your status. So what will happen is in about a week, I will share with you a Google spreadsheet, and this will have all of your projects, and I will indicate by an R if I've received your project and G if it's been graded. And then if it's graded, you'll see the points that you will receive. The one thing I want to say about this, though, is that since it's a spreadsheet, I can't get all of the functionality of a gradebook. I am still looking for an alternative gradebook. So don't worry if, for example, you see an assignment that says you have an E on it because you've only got 3 points and the rest of it is blank. This happens a lot when, say, I'm having you comment on someone else's work and I've graded the comments, but I haven't graded the main work. So if you see something that concerns you in this spreadsheet, just let me know and we'll take care of it. So thank you for joining me in ETCV 530. I look forward to working with all of you.